It does work every day because more than likely, when we all drive and get on the road, especially a highway, we tend to get to our destination. Really pointing out to humans that we are bombarded by messages, images, and to me, that's an example of being intentional and in control of what you can control to get to the destination that you want to get to. That you have some testing anxiety, so you're performing. You have to perform and hopefully perform well to get the grade that you want, the grade that you need. Mm-hmm. And you, in a way, acknowledge or feel or becomes apparent what you're more worried about. And like I said, it can stop, stall, or stunt how you perform and how you answer the test. Do relaxation. Kind of call out what you're anxious about as hopefully well enough before you actually take the test that you can call out affirmations. You can rehearse or remember all the preparation that you put into this. Oh gosh, and this can mean a lot of things. We're all out here.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Phil Sarpaw, and this is Phil's Guide to Psy.D. This channel is dedicated to all things psychology, wellness, and graduate school. I'm really excited to jump into this conversation. If you have not already, you can subscribe to the channel, and you can also join and become a member. If you're looking to support me there, that's probably one of the best ways to support this channel. But without further ado, we're actually going to go ahead and jump right into the video. And honestly, thank you so much for being here. I think what I'm really interested in is, in your background, how did you actually become a clinician? What was your journey like for you?
We need more time. How about that? Highlights. So I'm originally from Birmingham, Alabama. I grew up pretty much around sports. I grew up in the basketball church league and in YMCAs. And I played basketball and I really was just very observant of experiences, especially when you're comparing your skills in this to other people's skills. And I just needed a little bit more work. But I played basketball all the way up into first year of college and then made a different decision not to continue because I began to see that there's a lot more ways that you can influence the game beyond just playing it. So from there, I pretty much took my studies to sports psychology, explored as much as I could, eventually got into a master's program in athletic counseling at Springfield College. Then that led into basically getting into the doctorate for counseling psychology at Springfield College. And I was just able to take up a lot of and every opportunity that allowed me to be forward facing with athletics, athletes, or just admins. That was really great. And so just continued on the journey of becoming a psychologist, which eventually led me to Mississippi State as an internship. And whew, great time. Great time there. Believed in myself to just really cast my net wide, pursuing the best, I would say, athletic counseling or sports psychology opportunity. And then I found my way at Premier Sports Psychology in Minnesota, which was not on my bingo card originally. But when you commit to being open, you just say, why not? So I would say that's the highlight of my journey. But overall, what really has centered me to pursue this is that many athletes that look like me and you pursue sport for upward mobility. And not a lot of them are prepared. Well, back in the time, because that was then, this is now. At the time, nobody was truly prepared for sport not to go well or not to be a hit. And that was hard to witness. Great talent that I saw. I knew people that went all the way to the NBA. Wow. And they were right back home at the end, before the end of the season. So, wow. What was going on there? So yeah, I just saw a lot of things, and I really cared about athlete transitions. I cared about sense of self and athletic identity, and even like I would say, exercise identity. So I've pursued that as well. But yeah, I just really care. I care about us. I care about people, and I care about finding ways to still be successful and successful on your terms. So, yeah, that's my little journey.
Ooh, yeah, that is quite a journey, and honestly, thank you so much for sharing that. There's some things that kind of come to mind as you were talking about in terms of seeing athletes go from whether it's college to the professional league, and then have to deal with all of the different stressors that they are maybe not prepared for. For them to really have to learn the ropes of what it's like to actually navigate through those difficulties. I'm curious for you, how is that for you in terms of, for example, how do you think psychology actually makes a difference in someone's life when they're experiencing, whether it's anxiety, whether it's difficulties with work or school or life?
To put it simply, you find out that you are more than an athlete.
Right.
Sports psychology, athletic counseling can help you, one, just have a space to talk, like no judgment. We're not being critical of you in a one-on-one space. You just have this space to come and just literally let it all out. If you need to come and sit in silence, just sit in silence. But I would say that's in the practice, just as sports psychology and athletic counseling is a tool for athletes, it's just a great opportunity for them to explore themselves, to explore their passions, explore even all of what they want to do with their sport, because they're, I would say, what's entered the practice and the discipline now is, okay, that's great that you could play, but have you planned and prepared for life after? You see a lot of athletes. I mean, now it's just everyone's getting deals, NIL deals, and even the not late greats, but the greats. A lot of male athletes are having diverse portfolios and really centering on their, I would say, wealth management in my mind, but they're preparing themselves to have longevity after sport. So really thinking about that longevity after sport can start with sports psychology and athletic counseling. And fact on fact, life does not stop. Though you can do great things and shoot a ball, hit a ball, kick a ball, that's great, but life is still happening. You still have friendships, you're still tethered and tied to relationships. And how do you navigate that, especially as you matriculate to the professional demands? And it can become a lot. So athletic counseling, sports psychology helps you to remind you that you're a human. And even in sports psychology, with the performance psychology of it, it can also help you perform better and well.
Oh, yeah, no, that's amazing. I think that's really valuable. There was a study that I was looking at, and I'll see if I can put down the link in the show notes, but it was looking at Olympic athletes, and I think this was decades ago, but it was looking at Olympic athletes, and it was sort of looking at three different groups of people. One group of the athletes pretty much only did physical training, right? So they would go to the gym, they would work out, and that's all they did. The second group, they did 75% physical training, and then the other amount of time was spent actually doing some mental training. And so 25% was mental training, 75% was physical training. I'm assuming that mental training was meditation, mindfulness, maybe some individual psychotherapy. And so that was the second group. And then the third group, it was switched. It was 75% mental training and then 25% physical training. And they looked at these three groups of Olympic athletes, and the group that ended up doing the best in terms of just overall performance was the third group. It was the group that did 75% of their time doing mental training while only 25% physical training. And I thought that was so interesting, because I think there's this misconception that the harder I train, the more I go to the gym, the better I'm going to do. And it seems like what the research is showing, that on the flip side, from a clinical perspective, it's actually better to probably focus more on mental training. I think when you're at the top of your game professionally, you're probably already at a really good physical perspective, right? Everyone else is physically matched, comparable to you. And so really the only thing that really differentiates you from your opponent is probably the mental training, which I was assuming that was really what the study was highlighting. Yeah, yeah. And, I think what I'm thinking about now is that, given the research that you read, there are real life scenarios of that where I think a lot of people just don't have access to mental training.
We just saw spotlighted in the Olympics. So what Noah Lyles, he said he had two psychologists, like two therapists, one for sport and one for mental health. So sometimes that happens too. We saw a lot of people, a lot of Olympians and athletes take time to slow down to really journal. So they might not work exactly with a therapist, or they worked with a therapist long before and they don't need them at this moment, but they engage with themselves via a journal, and just write out their goals, or they write out their thoughts and fears. A lot of people just need family because their family are emotionally supportive, available, present, and just kind of skillful to help them get through things. Oh my gosh, it was one of the athletes, I forget the football player who was reading the book during the football game. Oh gosh, I'm so horrible with names, but he was using that as a book really to help him reset his mind. So it could be anything. Mantras, affirmations, relaxation tips, techniques that help them talking to people. So it's a full continuum. It's really just an athlete figuring out what works for them and what sticks, I would say. So hopefully, it could be a host of things.
Yeah, I think that's great in terms of being able to collaborate with the athlete or the performer, right? In terms of finding out what actually works well for them. And, that could include some experimentation. That might include some, trying different things. I'm curious for you, in situations where, you have clients who are dealing just with a lot of stress, anxiety, depression, and the world is falling down around them, right? Would you say there's a go-to evidence-based strategy in terms of dealing with that? Like if they're particularly dealing with, let's say specifically a lot of self-doubt, not being confident, not being really hopeful of the future?
In my one-on-one time with athletes, I really like to, honestly, in a way, join a journey with them because, hey, when was the last time you were confident? When was the last time? Because typically you haven't gotten this far in your sport or your career without doing well. So it has to be something. Sometimes we can get into a mind trap of we're never confident, or it never happened. Okay, yes it did. So I like being able to kind of bring that nugget of truth. And confidence, self-efficacy is really built off of modeling, persuasion, so self-talk. So seeing things, modeling, basically getting reps, like trying it over and over again. And why is it other than fail? Visualization. We talked about it. Yeah. So really taking a moment to just visualize it. So knowing that those are the tools that can help build the confidence, I just know that. And what I'm learning and sitting across from athletes, it's the desire is I want to be more confident. And it's like, and in what? Better shooting, talking to people, communicating with coach or teammates, being assertive. Exactly. Let's define the what on the other end of this. So there's actually a pair. It's not just confident. Well, and what we want to do. So as you can tell, I'm a little animated even in my sessions, because we get to break this up. We don't have to be so serious. We can. So that's how I go about it. So once we can define the what, when was the last time you did that? and how was it successful? Or if there's comparison, pretty much being a little thief of joy, whom are you comparing yourself to, or what are you comparing yourself to? So let's literally throw this out there and put it on the wall. Let's see it. Because that might also be robbing you or blinding their minds or themselves, or just like, oh, I am doing this. Okay. We obviously have to get the practice in. We have to practice it. So oftentimes oh gosh, I could go on for days about confidence. Oftentimes there's a misgear I've learned in just doing the work with humans. And sometimes there is a desire to have achievement in the wrong time. We want to have achievement in training. We want to have growth in training. We want to have achievement in competition. And sometimes that ends up flipping, because even in training, we need to get perfect. We need to build this confidence immediately. And so sometimes that it dwindles the sense of self, the confidence, just even the belief. So I do work in that area as well. I really set up the athlete to really think about what can happen in practice. Sometimes we live in a state where I would say like a state of mind where you tend to show up to things and it's just like, oh, it's kind of a passive engagement where I'll do the things set before me instead of coming in with the intention of what do I want to take away from this practice. So really identifying their intentions, what do I want to do, and being very clear on this practice we want to grow. That means you're going to fail a couple times. You're going to progressively get better. It'll be gradual. It won't be immediate. But in competition, you want to have the confidence. It's still a lot of the things you're doing behind the scenes. You're just working those things out. So I'm getting pretty nerdy in this, but continuing on with it. So really building their mental capacity to really understand there's a lot more into it than just, I want to feel this. Okay. And really identifying that you actually have more control of feeling the way that you want to feel. It just can take a little time, and that's okay. And that's okay. And the way that I like to say it, I really like to draw it very simply to people is, hey, remember when you first started this sport? Yeah, I do. Yeah, great. Okay. How long did it take you to get better? Oh, yeah, it took me like this, I was in here again. I was like, oh, and then you got better, right? Yeah. But do you remember when you were just horrible at it? No, I don't. Exactly. Exactly. It's going to take just a little bit, just reps and just chasing exactly what you like about it, the passion, the excitement, knowing that you can get better. We just have to copy paste that younger self into this mindset and go forth and chase it. So a lot of the things that are barriers to confidence is what we also call out too of, is it comparison? Is it you're thinking more of the outcome than the process? So I can go on for days about this, but don't tell all my secrets.
Just sort of the pressure that athletes and I think a lot of people can have on themselves, and I think about everyday people, right? Where there's this sense of being able to embrace the pressure, where when you experience the pressure, it's almost like it exposes you for who you really are, right? So if you're prepared for it, if you're ready for it, then whenever there is that pressure, we're going to be able to see the best of you, right? Like that's kind of how I think about pressure. But if you haven't prepared for the moment, if you don't feel confident, if there's some self-doubt or uncertainty or some anxiety, right? Then as soon as that pressure hits, it's like the cookie crumbles, right? And I'm wondering, like, in terms of just in general pressure, I think pressure can be good. I think there can be good levels of stress that make us more sort of attentive and can help us to work maybe a little bit harder, or to be more proactive, or to not procrastinate. But how would you say, people can experience pressure in a way that actually helps them to live out just a better performance in general, just the ability to not allow that stress to hinder them from their goals or from their productivity, but to actually use it?
Whew. The low-hanging fruit, stage it. Stage it. If you can do this, stage it. I have gone to enough practices where, the team is playing a scrimmage and there's just like a lot of noise, or there's like an audio of a lot of noise or heckling, or I don't know about flashing lights, but maybe there's like different visual things that can be distracting. There's just noise that could be distracting, and it could be intense. Many coaches, basketball, they're planning the inbound play. If you have 3 seconds on the clock, 10 seconds on the clock, like they're staging that, they're doing that. Now, where your question meets me in the individual sense, you have a lot of athletes that feel the pressure to perform, definitely because of like NIL, or, I mean, even middle school and high school students, because they just want, the best opportunity. They want to go to the best school. They want to be on the varsity team. That's intensity as well for them. They want to be selected by the best school, what have you, when they're going to college, or the best team when they're going into the league or beyond. So I think of that. And with that intensity, that's a mental intensity of kind of anticipating an outcome. A lot of the work I do, I'm finding the intensity, a lot of it is about what does the moment mean for them. And then the next part is really exploring and navigating the transaction that is coming from the meaning or the outcome that they're seeking. So that ends up being intense. Being in front of a crowd, being judged. Oh God, I'm just all the air balls, like that's intense, and it can be embarrassing, as well. If that happens, and it can stunt, or stop behavior, like performing really well. That's intense.
Yeah.
So to deal with it, stage it if you can. Another thing I like to do is really call out people's comparison, or what are they fearfully perceiving or anticipating? Because are you anticipating that your rival team or the rival coach that you were just about to like sign with, they're just going to like treat you horribly, and like gang up on you in a way? I don't know, like gang up on you might be too strong of a word, because no coach will ever do that. But really calling out the fears, putting some language to it. I love to say that, like, hey, let's put some language to that fear. Give me language. What does it look like? Because that could be intensity too. And just really getting down to, again, like, what's the transaction? What are you wanting out of this? What's fearful? What might be holding you hostage? Which might be a tough word as well, but you're just in a holding pattern because of it. So again, I can go on and on and on and on about this, but the biggest thing about it is, with intensity, really call out what might distract you from performing.
I see.
Is it the crowd? Is it mom and dad are there? Or you have recruiters? Okay, it's it's definitely intense if the recruiters are there. Okay, what are you feeling already? Kind of in session with me bringing this up. How do you think of recruiters already? It means this much to perform this well in this game. This is on the line. Okay. So that mental intensity, because again, you haven't gotten this far not knowing how to play the game.
Yeah.
So we know how to play. What's kind of getting in the way that's kind of robbing you from just literally leaning into the process of playing.
Right.
Because most athletes are getting caught, humans are getting caught up into, what does this mean? If I perform well, it means this. So a lot of people enter a game thinking about the outcome, thinking about the meaning, thinking about the transaction, and not just letting that go and just playing the game that they know that they've trained for 10 plus years. Come on. So hopefully that's a very thorough answer.
Yeah, no, that was excellent. That was excellent. You know, I know there's so many thoughts that I was even thinking about, like when you were talking, I thought about, you know, I hear a lot of athletes talk about this where it's like you have to have a certain almost like amnesia, where if you think about, for example, taking free throws, you know, if you keep thinking about that missed shot that you had over and over and over again, you're gonna miss the next shot, and then you're gonna be intimidated, you're going to be limited, you're going to be less confident, you're not going to take as many shots, you're going to be kind of quietly sort of exiting the game, even if you're actually on the court. And I think there's sort of like this ruthless amnesia that's like still reasonable and realistic, but you're just not allowing those past mistakes to affect your present. And I'm just even curious about what you think are sort of other successful characteristics that athletes resemble, you know, that are some examples, just like the example of the amnesia. Like, what other characteristics have you seen in a client where you're like, wow, you are a top athlete, you're a top performer, you're a CEO, you've gone through so many hurts and pains, you've gotten knocked down, but you always seem to get back up? What are some of those characteristics that those people have, or that they embody, that I think is something that maybe all of us could potentially learn from?
They get knocked down 9, but they get up 10. No.
Yes.
Right? Obviously resilient. Gosh, there's actually a plethora of things. First and foremost, I just enjoy each and every athlete that I sit across from. They are delightful. I learn a lot from them. They force me to do some work, and I say, make me work. Like, duh, that's why we show up. Like, come on. Gosh, like obviously resilience. So characteristics that stand out that make them elite performers.
Yeah.
Man, it just, gosh. I have them. It's just how to put these into words. Again, resilience. I think it's also, yeah, I said this maybe 2 weeks back. They know how to feel defeat, but they don't believe it.
Oh.
I'm not defeated. And I'm like, yes, Tokyo. Okay.
Yeah.
They feel defeat, but we don't believe it. We are not defeated. I can do this. I can advocate for myself. I can have agency. I still show up for practice. I appreciate that about a tough mindset, because a tough mindset is not asking you not to be human, not to feel, not to just suppress. No, feel it. Feel it. I think one of my sessions yesterday was really overcoming a sense of perfectionism and really introducing this concept of self-compassion. So I think elite athletes are very compassionate. I think elite athletes are very competitive. I think, to me, that's just the backside or the benefit, the reward of not accepting defeat. This is still competitive. And obviously, you know, Kobe's going through my mind right now. Michael Jordan's going through my mind. Yes, I'm that old, whatever. LeBron is going through my mind. Like, yo, you know, I know I'm recognizing I'm only, oh my God, Diana Taurasi. Oh my God. Like, competitive.
Yeah.
So it is a mindset It is just a lethalness of like, we've got to play this game.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to play. And being able to tap into that is an elite level.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot get this far and survive all of the demands of sport
Right.
if you are just accepting defeat. And then now it becomes one with your behavior. So resilience, they feel defeat, but they don't accept it. And self-compassionate, and they're competitive.
Self-compassion, competitive, feeling defeat but not believing it. It's almost like, I think part of me, reminds me of growth mindset, where it's you're just not limited. Things that have happened to you aren't restraining you, and even if they do restrain you or it puts you down for a moment, like, you can still learn from it. There's still an opportunity to grow from it. If there's something that is sort of anxiety driven for me at work, I think being able to visualize, for me, how things can go well, right? Because we're so programmed to negatively focused on just danger and threat. It's like the first thing that our brains go to. Being able to sit down and be mindful of those emotions, to be able to regulate them, and to be mindful and to just actually focus on visualization of what could actually go well, actually, I think is simple, but really, really, really powerful, and, I'm wondering, for your average day college student, let's say they're doing some type of mental imagery for their exam, or like some visualization to have more confidence with their first date or something like that, or to talk to a professor, or to talk to their boss. Like, how do some of these evidence-based things that you've talked about, how can everyday people use them? And if they are using them, does it actually work?
It does work every day, because more than likely when we all drive and get on the road, especially a highway, we tend to get to our destination. Tend to. And I say that because I like really pointing out to humans that we are bombarded by messages, images, um, sell, buy this, oh gosh, get that. And to me, that's an example of being intentional and in control of what you can control to get to the destination that you want to get to. So just focus and distractions. You're distracted by all of this like incoming data. I've said that a lot, but you're still being focused about where you need to get to and what you need to do. And so you're being intentional. Let me slow my thoughts down. I think that really thinking about, I think you mentioned assertiveness, preparation for like a test, that you have some testing anxiety. So you're performing. You have to perform and hopefully perform well to get the grade that you want, the grade that you need. Mm-hmm. And you, in a way, acknowledge or feel or becomes apparent what you're more worried about. And like I said, it can stop, stall, or stunt how you perform and how you answer the test. So taking moments to do relaxation, kind of call out what you're anxious about, as hopefully well enough before you actually take the test, that you can call out affirmations. You can rehearse or remember all the preparation that you put into this. And I mean, the intricacies of studying, depending on the nature, I'll say the discipline, how you study for, sociology is very different from how you study from math or calculus, physics. So that's different. So if you can remember that your strategy is stellar, is strong, you're best prepared, that helps too. So a lot of us, oh gosh, and this can mean a lot of things. We're all out here performing. We are all out here performing, driving well, communicating best, being assertive. Um, oh my gosh, active listening,
Mm,
which we don't do a lot
mm.
as humans. We could do better. Um, but all of those things matter. I mean, just how I'm continuing to roll over your question is just how can the everyday person apply performance psychology? That's what
Yeah, yeah,
essentially.
yeah.
Yeah, I read a book. Number one, read a book. You'll apply it.
Uh,
We're all wanting more confidence.
mm,
All of us. Gosh, for whatever reason.
yeah.
And ask yourself, why do you want the confidence? You know, how could it help you and what can you draw from? I think that sometimes we get so ensnared by
Mm,
what we see, and we kind of forget what we have and cultivate that. Cultivate exactly what you have, the resources that you have. Where have you felt confidence last? You just never know. So I'm
yeah.
taking it philosophical now, but that's how that would be my suggestions to the everyday person utilizing it. Recognize what your distractions are. Be clear about your intentions so you know what you want to focus on. And literally any other data that's outside of that, let it pass by you.
Mm.
Let it pass by you. Don't do it. Don't do it. Just don't. Emotion regulations, like regulation, know what you feel,
Mhm,
and that's okay. Take time with yourself to self monitor and know what's coming up,
mm.
because there are a lot of people out here that just projecting displaced anger.
Oh, yeah.
Child, it's like, I'm gonna need you to come in and sit down. Let's talk about this. But and some people, I mean, we're all chasing happiness too. And
Yeah.
sometimes I just saw that, like a clip just talking about some people chase destinations. Like, when I
Mm,
get to this position, or when I get to this house, or when I get to this, and you get there and it's like,
mhm.
this, what was I thinking? Right.
Right,
So what was motivating that?
right.
Being clear on what motivates you. Are you, gosh, yeah, I'm just leave that that. Be clear what what motivates you. Know your why. So that's
Yeah.
the everyday. We're all out here performing, you know. I do pray everybody has a job and you have to conduct yourself in this particular discipline. So we're all out here performing, you know, being versions of ourselves.
Right.
And yeah, sometimes you just need to know where the performance ends and know where you begin.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I really appreciate that. You know, I think at the end of the day, there is sort of this, like for me, like my home self is different than my work self, right? My home self is different than my school self, right? I'm still like when I go to work, or when I go to school or whatever it is, like I'm still me. I'm still my authentic self. But I go to work to be able to do the work that I'm supposed to do, right? And so there is a level of performance that I'm doing because I want to do well at my job. When I go to school, right, I want to get good grades. There's a version of myself that I want to become. And I think even sometimes when we're with our friends and our family know us probably the best, right, out of anyone. But even then, you know, there's still a level of maybe potential vulnerability that we might have with some friends and not with other friends, or with some family members and not with other family members, right? There's still that sort of emotional intimacy that has its levels, you know, depending on the relationship. And, you know, as we're kind of talking, I was just thinking about just different life setbacks, like going through difficult things in life, and even comparing like the parallels of when athletes go through injuries and they go through setbacks and they go through hurts, right? The parallel of us, of just everyday people, athletes included, going through, you know, when an athlete goes through a physical injury, you know, how that it parallels just people in general going through real world situations that are setbacks, right? This could be job loss, losing a family member, or just difficult, tough times at work, at school, at relationships, and whatever it is, and the mental fortitude that it takes to come back from a setback, to come back from loss, to come back from a season of hopelessness or grief. One of the things that I'm looking to specialize in is in clinical health psychology, and I'm actually going through my internship right now and going through the primary care center, where I see a lot of people with medical conditions, right? So I see people with chronic pain, sleep issues, eating difficulty, weight management, all of those different things, right? There's this physical injury, but I understand that even in their physical injury in a medical environment, they're actually clearly being impacted by their mental health as well. They might be more anxious, more depressed, and so there's correlations with physical, medical diagnoses and chronic health conditions to mental health. And so, when I think about questions like how we deal with life hurts, whether it's physical injury or even just mental injuries, looking at how athletes are dealing with that setback, dealing with that physical pain, dealing with that injury, and going through probably a whole lot of mental things to come back and deal with their hurt. And what do we do mentally to sort of come back from that, right?
Okay, moment of silence. It hits. It hits. Let me just.
Oh.
Okay. First and foremost, congratulations. Yes, come on. Yes, yeah. We need you.
Thank you.
We need you. Okay. Two, I just want to make sure, like, clarity on the performers. We're out here performing. We're all out here doing our best. Okay, and we're trying, and then we become self-actualized. So it's not performing like we're fake or anything, but it's like we're trying new things, we're growing. Okay, so I just want to make sure that's out on the internet too.
Good.
And three, basically how to deal with life setbacks, lifing.
Yeah.
Yes, oh gosh. Whew. Me and my community have been talking about this recently, and to really put it plainly and simply, one, dealing with a life setback honestly doesn't have to look like anything. It doesn't have to look like, oh well, I just got fired from my job and like I get to go on, because there's something that happens with this human experience that we kind of think that we got to soldier on, like, oh, it didn't faze me. Yes, it did faze you, because you're trying to figure out where your money coming from.
Right.
That, be phased, please. Come on. So I think about that. I think about dealing with life setbacks. You're going to have an emotional response. You're going to have a mental response. You're probably going to think about things. You're probably going to be in a desperate, vulnerable, sensitive, raw situation. And I think about, I'm learning to ask the questions, or to be mindful of, if life happens or when life happens, what relationships have you cultivated?
Oh.
What relationships? Because, okay, I'm not going to say that, because we need community.
Yeah.
Period. And we live in an individualistic society that we think we got to do it on our own, and that is the honor, that's the badge, be proud of that, you figured it out. No. Talk to your best friend. Talk to your friend. I be talking to the baristas like, hey, but I've learned a lot of things just from sharing or feeling comfortable, just to say, nah, this is not hitting today. I'm not feeling good. So really dealing with setbacks, dig into your community, really think about, hopefully people have cultivated friendships that are truly loving, giving, and emotionally available. because that emotional availability might be tied to a 2-bedroom that's open. They're like, okay, we can come and live with you. Okay, that might be tied to actually, oh my gosh, I just had this job opening, or I know a friend that has it. You never know. You just never know. And so I think about that. I also hear in the layer of your question, just it shakes your sense of self.
Right.
It shakes your, just, how do I know me? How do I know, as a society or this work? I never thought this would happen. And, depending on if they're working with a clinician, or an elder, or a person just more aged beyond them, they can also ask, like, okay, well, what caused you not to consider this?
Yeah.
It's not judgmental. It's just, what blinders were we on? What were we believing in? Because how did we not prepare?
Right.
That's okay. And like, just, it's okay. Oh gosh, we can't do every single thing. So I think about that, dealing with depression, sadness. I mean, we both know the world we live in. Suicidality, that is definitely on the rise, and completions, attempts, and just the headspaces you can be in to consider that. Get help and get assistance. I've helped friends find resources. I'm a part of somebody else's community, and I have people that are my community too. So that matters. So I feel like I'm all over the place, but just that community care, really lean into that, and then individually be honest about how you're impacted.
Yeah.
Are you now? It's crumbling your sense as a provider. Is it dashing literally all your dreams? You are in a position where you have to start all over. With athletes and injury, is it a career ending injury? Is it a season ending injury?
Yeah.
We work with injured athletes all the time, and that belief that they will do it again, that they will be just the same. And so when we finally can get to a place of like, you actually might be better because you've expanded your mental fortitude, your mental strength. Muscle memory will come back, but now you've gone to the depths of maybe depression and sadness, and you've clawed your way back. So you're actually stronger.
What it reminds me of is that concept of post-traumatic growth, where someone can get traumatized physically, mentally, sexually, emotionally, spiritually. And not to say that going through the trauma is a good thing, but someone could get traumatized and in the end go through recovery, build up resilience, and they get to the end, or they get to the light at the end of the tunnel, and they look back and they're like, wow, I'm stronger, I'm better, I'm healthier, right? Like they have surpassed the original baseline that they were initially in. And I think that's why, like, that's a way that I kind of think about suffering, that maybe there's a point that you could become better at the end. And I think those like injuries, those life hurts, even those physical injuries for athletes, like you mentioned, if they're growing in their mental fortitude and their ability to believe in themselves and just to just push through it, you said muscle memory will come back. And I think we've all seen, when athletes get injured and then come back, like I said, when they come back, there is a sense of muscle memory where they even if they've been gone for a little bit of time, eventually that muscle memory kicks in. And I think there's something to be said about the mental memory that maybe many of us have of like, I remember what it was like to fight through my past hurt, right? I remember the last relationship that was a struggle. I remember the last time I got fired from my job. I remember the last type of life hurt and what I went through and how I got over that. And so now that I'm in this new season of suffering, I'm kind of pulling back in my memory the ways that I was able to cope in that previous season. And if I didn't cope too well, that's still sort of good information, right? Because I can either not do those same things and I can try different things to help cope, right? Oh, wow. Yeah. Dr. Kidd, we have a tradition on this channel and on this podcast. You shared so many different insights. You clearly are you're really amazing. It seems like you're just a really amazing, sort of intentional, thoughtful clinician. You clearly care about your clients. What do you do for yourself as it relates to physical, mental, spiritual health? Like how do you take care of you?
Thank you for the question. Sleep.
Oh.
Yes, I am the clinician who takes her own advice.
Love it.
Granted, I found out the hard way that whoa, I really need to go to bed.
Yep.
Go to sleep. So the ebb and flow of things, you just really realize that you need to, now the language is sleep performance. Like I said, we're always performing, right? So, just really being mindful of just sleep, getting the sleep I need, having that regulated, because I do want to make sure that I am present for my athletes. I want to make sure that I have the mental flexibility to be available to them. And I'm not going to get that if my, level 1 foundation is not kind of set. Sleep. Being in Minnesota has been an experience. It was snowing April 1st, which was like, wow, this is a snowy April Fool's Day prank, but whatever. I would say definitely reaching out to my own community. So that helps me. Spiritual practices. I am listening to a sermon every morning. Every morning. That's where we are in our life and walk with Christ. So I'm listening to a sermon every morning. Definitely sharing the word, building community off of that. I am rekindling my relationship with the gym because I really do enjoy fitness, and life just comes at you fast. And oh gosh, some things just have to be stalled, or you just can't engage in the gym like you used to in your younger years. So it just changes. But so that said, I think, what else? Exploring. I think exploring is really, it means a lot to me, and I'm accepting that. And just get out here in the city. I have forced myself to go to the museum to see Alicia Keys and Swiss Beats Giants.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, I gotta go, and I gotta put on real clothes. Okay, I know I work in athletics. Like, nope, you need to put on real clothes. I said, okay. And I think a big part to me, what matters to me and my personality, if you can't tell already, is like just being open to to new things, new perspectives. It makes this life experience lighter.
Yeah.
So that's where I am. Just definitely some sermons, community. I do like to read, love to read, and really getting that back into that more routinely, because that matters. Oh God, journaling. So
Yeah.
I'm just giving you my laundry list of like what I do. But all those things matter. So just wanted to share.
I really appreciate that you mentioned that. Yeah. Dr. Kidd, once again, thank you so much for your insights, just your lightheartedness. I think in this space, as clinicians, like, we see a lot, we deal with a lot, we hear a lot. And I think you do a really great job of being the reminder for all of us that life is also about laughter, right? Like, it's okay to cry, it's okay to be mad and angry, it's okay to experience all of those emotions, but there's laughter too. And to look for those opportunities to laugh. And even as a clinician, I think, like I said, I think sometimes we carry this burden or this baggage where we're kind of carrying other clients or the patient's hurt. And so I really appreciate your sense of humor, because I think that lightheartedness, that ability to have that sense of humor, I think is just really good, and it shows your authentic self. It shows what you would be like in the room, and it shows that, even as clinicians, we shouldn't take ourselves too seriously. So I really appreciate about you, and especially this conversation. How can people reach out to you if they have any questions about anything that we've talked about?
It's gonna be funny. I'm very animated in my sessions with people. And everybody who knows me, they're like, Kirby, yes, we're gonna laugh. And the funniest things are on the internet.
Yes.
So I'm laughing, and that is just a testament to the mental fortitude or the mental agility that I've gained just
Yeah.
getting through my life. So laughter is very important. So that's what I do as well. So working with Premier Sport Psychology, you can hit me up at KIDD at premiersportpsychology.com. I am on Facebook, Kirbi Kidd, KIRBI, KI, D as in Delta, D as in Delta. And then the socials that I'm mostly on right now is Instagram. So, and the page I frequent the most is Chronic Fitness. So KRONIC Fitness. So, come find me if you want to talk.
Love that. Love that. We'll put all of those links in the show notes. Yeah, I just appreciate your time. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity, and well done, and good luck